All right, your Bud Rail Diesel Car Operators Manual, Reading Company. Let's rotate this. All right, the forward. All right, this manual is compliant with the qualified operating personnel of the Bud Rail Diesel car. It should be used to guide, locate operating equipment for normal operating methods and troubleshooting with items 1 through 9, inclusive explain what the normal operating methods include, checklists, road troubleshooting, and explained in item 10. One engine operator appear with the item number 11. Multiple car operation experience in item 12. Engine cooling water draining instructions appear in item 13. And truck braking equipment is described in item 14. The manual explained the SOS service and preventive maintenance operation logically fall within the scope of the operator of the Bud Rail diesel cars. See air brakes companies pamphlets covering air brake equipment. All right, table 1. Item 1 items to be checked with the prior starting engines. 2 starting engines. 3 air brake test preparation. 4 performing brake test. 5 setting car in motion. 6 braking speed control station monitoring stop emergency braking restoration services following emergency brake application towing his car as part of the train and yard system movements. 7 changing operations ends. 8 items to be checked at the end of the run. 9 engine shutdown. 10 troubleshooting. 11 operating car with on one engine. 12 multiple car operation. 13 draining instructions, engine cooling water, engine 4, and item 14 would be your truck braking equipment illustrations, control cab, water tank, engine cooling, excitation, pilot light, box, engine control panel, planning, equipment undercar, regulator, locker 1 and B, A and B, and switch panel. All right, control cab 1. The car is provided with the duplicate controls at each end with one of the defroster switch, classification marker light or switch, 2, 3 number sign light switch, 4 window shin window wiper motor, 5 axis door classification lights, gauge light resistors, 6 horn single valve generator pilot light, number 1 engine, number 2 engine, AM7 8 and 9 horn emergency cutout cog, 10 cab signal, 26 or 11 26B1 brake valve, 12 windshield wiper control valve, 13 bell signal air valve, 14 whistle cab signal, 15 cutout cock whistle cab signal, 15 foot valve cutout cock sealed open, 17 D1 foot valve, 18 access door number of lights, windshield wiper motors, 19 air reserve gauge main equalizing reservoir, 20 horn cord, 21 air brake gauge piping and brake cylinder, 22 headlight instrument light switch, 23 helpers cab heater switch, 24 operators cab heat switch, 25 cab ceiling light switch, 26 master plug switch, 27 forward reverser lever, the 28 speedometer manual sailing button, 29 30 throttle lever, 31 cab heat blower, 32 controller engine direction speed, 33 control handling stowage box, 34 operator seat, 35 cab signal acknowledging switch, 36 cab heater, 37 the emergency fuel cutoff ring, 38 reset sand direction button, 39 brake valve cutout view. Figure 1 shows the control cab. Our figure 1 shows your water tank engine cooling. 1 would be top cock, 2 middle cock, 3 bottom cock, 4 bypass valve, and 5 temperature regulator. All right, your operator's pocket manual. Item 1. Items to be checked prior to starting engines at start of the daily operation. In car, A. Apply handbrake. B. Check the cutoff valve located with the 26B1 brake valve is in cutout position all cars. The cutoff valve can be turned while the brake valve's cutout key is inserted in the center of the cutoff knob. See the settled throttle and reverse level the 27th and 2030 figure 1 and the all position operating cab only. 8 D insert manual master plug and switch 26 figure 1 connects battery to the circuits operating cab only. E set isolation switch 5 in figure 6 and 7 in figure 7 in normal position in all regulator lockers or both ends of each car. No in isolation position opens negative circuit to the control solenoids on the engine. F. Set cab signal control circuit breaker 34 figure 7 on position. BN number 2 regulator locker load lead car of the train only. G. Set excitation switch on the on position A of the number 1 regulator locker cars number 9151, 9152 only. Set H. Set excitation motor alternator circuit breaker 2 for the on position the cars 9151 and 9152 only. Check circuit breakers on switch panel of all cars figure 8. The following must be on. Signal sanding, train supply, controller, car setting, air compressor, engine solenoids. Figure 3 shows your excitation pilot light up box to the cab ceiling operator position. 1 would be your position green light on. 2, pilot red light off. 3, control switch. Alright, J, set excite the control switch 3 to figure 3 on the position. Undercar, close the battery switch of all cars. B, check the fuel emergency valve of the 29 figure 5 valve must be open with a lead T-shaped toggle in which the system of the valve of all the cars. C, check the engine cooling water level of the tricox on end of the tank of the both side of the car. C, figure 2 with the water level between the upper and two cocks engine stop all cars. Where the engine stop, check the engine crankcase lubrication oil level on all cars, and cars should be level. If the car is not level, the oil level will be low on the high side of the car and high on the low side, thereby giving the false reading. There should be taken into consideration oil filler cap and dipstick 2, figure 4. F. With the engine stop, check the transmission oil level on all cars, and all cars should be level. The oil filler cap and dipstick, figure 13, item 13, figure 4. G. Before re-entering the car, see what 1 air brake hose cocks are closed on the front end of the lead car and rear end of the trailing car, and the dummy couplings are in place. 2 air hoses are secure. Item 2, starting the engine. Regulator locker starting. Press start engine number 1, push button 2, figure 6 to hold on to the green generator pilot light number 1, figure 7, item 7. Figure 1, lights indicate up the engine is running. Caution, do not crank more than 30 seconds continuously without pausing several minutes to allow the cranking the motor to cool. Failure to observe this may result in the complete failure of the cranking motor. Press start button number 2, engine push button 15, figure 6. Hold only of the green generator pilot number 2, 8 with the figure 1, lights indicate the engine is running. Caution, do not crank more than 30 seconds continuously with a pause of several minutes to allow the cranking motor to cool. Failure to observe these above may result in the complete failure of the cranking motor. Note, number 1 and number 2 engines can be started from the A end or B end regulator locker. The starting circuit of the train engine, it must be started from either one of the 2 regulator lockers on each of the end of the car. B, engine panel starting, open engine casing doors, press start button 5, figure 4, or until the engine fires, and hold reset lever 3 in figure 4 until the lever latch is open automatically. No engine starting with the engine panel is not remote with each of the car must be started independently at this location. Caution, do not press the start button more than 30 seconds continuously without pause for several minutes to allow the starter motor to cool. Failure to observe the above may result in the complete failure of the cranking motor. 3, make visual check of the leaks, and 4, close the engine casing doors. Item 3, air brake test preparation at start and daily operation after each layover. 4, A, enter the control cab with the main reserve air gauge, top gauge, red hand figure, item 19, figure 1, air compressor running. Note 10 and 12 minutes are required to build up a main reserve pressure up to 0 to 140 pounds. B, depress foot pedal figures, item 7, figure 11, the brake valve handle suppression position will nullify foot valve. Alright, 4, your engine control panel, 1, engine crank lubricating oil fill tube, 2, engine crank lubricating oil dipstick, 3, air shutdown valve, reset lever 4, reset button, telltale lights, 5, start button, 6, stop button, 7, engine oil pressure telltale light, 8, engine water telltale light, 9, transmission oil temperature telltale light, 10, engine control cab cable quick to disconnect, 11, and starting cable quick to disconnect, 12, transmission oil fill tube, 13, transmission oil dipstick, 14, transmission control cab quick disconnect. Alright, C, insert the brake valve handle in the off position, pressing downward until the top of the reach. At this point, with the move of the handle of the emergency position, press the downward move of the handle of the release position. D, turn cutoff valve located in the 26B1 brake valve, item 11, figure 1, in the in position cutoff valve can be turned while the brake valve cutout is inserted with the center of the cutoff knob. E, check the air gauge of the main nominal readings with the brake released. An equalizing reservoir 90 pounds top gauge white hand. Main reserve 130 to 140 top gauge red hand. Brake pipe 90 pounds bottom gauge white hand 21 figure 1, and brake cylinder 0 pounds bottom gauge red hand 21 figure 1. Item 4, perform brake tests. Note, there are 4 brake cylinders on each truck. 1 cylinder per wheel, easily visible with the outside of the truck. Each cylinder is equipped with a collapsible rubber boot with the corrugations of the rings. When the boot is collapsed, the brake is relieved. The valve must be depressed while the brakes are released to avoid emergency application. The precautions should be taken to prevent car from removing the brake test is performed. The brake cylinder cutoff calculator for each of the truck is located within the supply line with a Rolken control box. Item 22, the figure 5 at this side of the car. Item 5, setting the car into motion. After completing procedures, item 1 through 4 inclusive, check to see if the ignition is on green. Item 1, figure 5, figure 3, pilot light is on when the car's 91 through 95, 9152 and 9151. only. Excitation must be in surface with a single car operated as a train. Your green pilot light in item 1, figure 3 will glow when the excitation is stable established. Red pilot light item 2, figure 3 will glow when the excitation has failed. 2, make the brake application to hold the car. Note, check if the handbrake is released. 3, move the reversal level to item 27, figure 1 of the direction required. 4, move the throttle level to item 30, the figure 1 from the off to number 1 position, approximately within 5 seconds of the lurch will be felt with the car body indicating that the transmission clutches are engaged. 5, reset standing direction push button, no operation direction standing, reset with the button as required whenever the direction operation is reserved. Press the reset direction push button item 38, item 1, up on the set of the direction relay item 26, figure 6 on all cars direction of the train traveling of the means of the train line circuit, thereafter will hold the desired standing direction regardless of the reverse level, throttle level resetting. When it is desired to reverse the standing direction, it is only necessary to press the reset standing direction push button after resetting the reverser level and throttle level. The release brakes only car will accelerate slowly depending on the grade. 7, for greater speeds, move the throttle to level number 2, then 3, and finally to 4 as required, pausing in each position before advancing. Note. Never advance the throttle lever above number one position until the clutch is engaged. To do will cover the engagement of the clutch at high speed, resulting in possible damage of the equipment. Operation number 4, throttle with the wind when the car is stationary must not exceed 30 seconds of duration. Failure to observe the precaution will result in the engine shutdown, possible damage of the equipment. Do not allow the car to stand on the sand. Roll car off of the sand to ensure the signal shunning. Item 6, braking. Speed control. On normal conditions, there can be a complex position for throttle level 1, 2, and 3, 4 position. Combination of the braking throttle level position provides intermediate speed control. Never bring the throttle lever in the off position to the retard the speed. If the throttle lever is excellently returned to the off position during the high-speed operation, reduce the car to 40 miles an hour under before returning to the first power position clutch engagement. B, stationary monetary stop. Bringing throttle level item 30 with the figure 1 with the back to number 1 position, not off. See note below. Make sure the service applications as required. Graduated between 15 and 20 pound brake cylinder pressure to the final stop. Note, disc brakes allow with a full surface application, rapid initial deceleration followed with a gradual weighted reduction brake cylinder pressure for the final stop. Note, do not return the throttle level to the opposite position unless the extended layover is anticipated. C, emergency braking. Emergency braking application can be manually initiated with the 3-source by placing of the brake valve 11 in the figure 1 with the emergency position, 75 psi brake charge pressure. For the releasing of the pressure for the valve pedal, item 17, the figure 1, and absent of the brake cylinder pressure. Brake cylinder pressure will not nullify emergency unless the brake valve handle is in the suppression position. 3, by opening conductors or helpers valve with the condition, return the throttle control lever to the out position immediately as the emergency brake application occurs. D, the restoration of service the following with emergency brake application. The following procedure covers the release of the emergency brake application, restoration, surface braking, and bring throttle over the opposition clear cough with the emergency application with the conductor's helpers valve that must be made manually. Depress the foot valve made with the move of the brake valve handle suppression position after the brake pressure has been increased, as indicated by the brake gauge 21 figure 1 with the brake valve the handle will then move to the release position. Continue with the operation. D, play with the brake valve handle in the service position. E, towing with the car is part of the train with the yard movement to make sure that the 26B1 brake valve cutoff valves at the both ends of all the cars in the cutoff position is necessary to connect only with the brake pipe tube of the train with the proper control air brakes. It is essential that any of the movement of the car with the main battery switch on all the cars is in being in position to ensure the function of the roll-con anti-wheel sliding devices. Item 7, the changing operation and make full surface the application turn off cutoff valve located in the 26B1 brake valve with the figure 11, item 11, figure 1, to cut off position. Cutoff valve can be turned while the brake valve with the cutout key is inserted at the center of the cutoff now. With the remove of the brake valve handle with item 11 figure 1 with the remove of the handle must be moved with the emergency position, then with the raised until the stop is reached. With after the reaching stop, move of the handle with the hand off position, remove, set the throttle and reverse the level with item 27 and 30 with the figure 1, and with the opposition, remove the master plug with the item 26 with the figure 1 from the switch. Remove the operator seat back to the rest and stow the set pedal. Turn off windshield wiper to item 12 with the figure 1. Turn off headlight 2022 and cab lights 21 figure 1 with turn off classification markers item 2 figure 1. Turn off excitation control switch item 3. Figure 3 with the cars 9151, 9152 only. Turn the following only with the car will not leading of the car to train. Cab single circuit breaker BN number 2 regulator locker item 40, 34 figure 7 item switch for the item 30 figure 7 A and number 1 regulator locker cars 91 51 91 52 only. All right, proceed to operate the end of the car with the insert of the master plug on the switch. 27 of the figure 1 with the depressed foot valve. Pedal 17 figure 1. Brake valve handle with the suppression position will nullify the foot valve. Insert the brake valve handle in the handle off position, pressing downward until the top of the reach. At this point, with the move of the handle emerging into the lower until the handle with the full engage with the emergency position. Move the handle the full service position. Turn cutoff valve with located with the 26B1 brake valve with the item 11 figure 1 in position. Cutoff valve can be turned in while the brake valve cutout key is inserted in the center of the cutoff knob. Lower operator seat pedestal and all the seat back to rest. Proceed to item 5 and 1 through 7, inclusive setting the car in motion. 8. Items to be checked at the end of the run. Make a full air brake service application. Turn off the cutoff valve located in the 26B1 brake valve with the cutoff position. Cutoff valve can be turned while the brake valve cutout key is inserted with the center of the cutoff knob. Remove the brake valve handle. 11. Remove the handle with the USB. Move the emergency position. Then relief at the top of the reach. After reaching for the top, move the hand with the handle off position. Remove. Move the throttle up with the reverse level of the off position. Remove the master plug 26 from the switch with the remove the operator seat backrest and stow seat pedestal. Turn off windshield wiper with 12 with the turn off headlight and instrument lights 22 with the turn off classification marker 2 with the turn off the station control switch cab ceiling 3 figure 3 item 3 figure 3 with the turn off the cab signal circuit breaker 34 with the figure 7 and B end with the number 2 regulator locker. Turn off the installation figure item 30 with the figure 6A and number 1 regulator locker of the cars 9152 and 9151. Only. Item number 9, engine shutdown. Engine can be shut down with the following. We have the engine control panel with each of the engine with the figure 4 with the pressing the stop 6 button until the engine shuts down. Then until the oil pressure trips our air shutdown. The air at the regulator locker with the isolation switch to stop the number 1 engine. Remove the isolation switch from the regulator number 1 and 5 with the figure 6 of the isolate with the stop position. Hold within the stop position generator. Pilot item 7 with the figure 1, but it goes out, but it will indicate that the number 1 engine has stopped. After the engine has stopped, move the switch to the normal position. At number 2 engine stop with a similar name with the isolation switch with the number 2B or regulator locker 7 and figure 7 with the generator pilot light with the number 2 engine with the item 5A of the figure 1. At the number 1A, the regulator locker you for the stop engine number 1, item 3, and stop engine number 2, item 16, the stop button, figure 6. If it's 2, stop the number 1 engine, press the button, hold with the depressed position, the number 1 generator pilot light with the item 7, figure 1 goes out. You stop the number 2 engine, press the button, hold with the depressed position until the number 2 generator pilot light with the number item 8 with the figure 1 goes out. At the number 2 regulator locker you for the stop engine number 1 with the item 3 with the stop engine number 2 with the 17 with the stop buttons, figure 7 with the stop the number 1 engine, press the button and hold within the depressed position until the number 1 generator pilot light and item 7 the figure 1 goes out. To stop the number 2 engine, press the holding, the depress the button with the number 2 general pilot light with the item 8 goes, figure 1 goes out. The number 1A and number 2B regulator lock you at the top of all engines, all cars, stop button with the item 1, figure 6 with the item 1, figure 7. Then stop over the engine with the car with the press the button, hold the depressed position, both the numbers 1 and 2 generator pilot switch to 7 8 and figure 1 goes out. And B, in case of a fire, fuel must be shut off with the tank with the pulling of the red fuel emergency cutout ring with located with the cab 37 in figure 1. Caution, the method of the shutdown can ruin injectors and should not be used except with emergency. Alright, item 10, troubleshooting. Note 1, protective shutdown provided with low engine oil pressure but high in transmission oil temperature, high engine cooling, water temperature, engine overspeed. If any of these conditions exist, respective switch will close with the trip and air shutdown valve will limit the switch and with de-energy of the engine control. Note number 2, with the overspeed coupled is interconnected with the low engine oil pressure which show on the engine with the event of the overspeed. Alright, number 2 main reserve surface reservoir, G1 relay, main drive shaft with number 5, the number 2 engine, 6 steam and emission valve, 5, 7 the water pump flow, 8 the water level of the cox engine cooling, 9 bypass valve of the engine cooling, 10 water tank for the engine cooling with the 11 the engine air cleaner, 12 with the fuel emergency valve ring with the pulling cable for the fire only, air conditioning condenser with the air conditioner compressor, generator, pull box, DC changing receptacle, 16, 17 auxiliary reserve, reservoir 18 can combine control selector volume reservoir 1926C control valve 20 type J filter 21 emergency standing pressure switch 22 Rolkin control box 23 number 1 main reserve 24 main battery cutoff switch with the DC charging receptacle 25 volume reservoir 26 fuel sight gauge 27 the battery box 28 fuel valve cab cable to cab the 29 fuel emergency valve toggle the sheet item figure 3 30 fuel oil tank 31 water pump overhead heat, 32 bell, 33 number 1 engine, 34 air compressor and motor. Are your red tail indicator lights 7, 8, and 9 figure 4 with the provide of the each of the engine panel leave above the ignition shutdown of the respective red indicator light with the individual generator pilot light 7 and 8 with figure 1 located in each of the cable out will be out, indicating the engine is shut down with the individual car. Warning: when any of the engines are found to be have shut down, but do not restart with any of the regulator or locker start buttons. Extremely important that the cause of the shutdown determined observing the telltale lights on the engine control panel of the shutdown engine, correcting the cause of the possible failure to observe the warning would result in the destruction of the engine. To resume with the normal operation for the air shutdown valve with the reached over the open position manually will close with the limit of the switch to complete with the negative trip with the engine shutdown with the loss of the oil pressure will cover the air shutdown trip with the low with the start with the reset level lever 3 with the figure forward must be held with the manually until the raised oil pressure pound the pressure switch. If the engine shutdown is caused with excessive water temperature indicate with the telltale light with the item 8 with figure 4 with the engine may restart with the following manner. Check the water level between the upper and two tricox. See figure 2 with the press the telltale reset button 4 with the item figure 4 red pilot light goes out. Crank engine hold air shutdown level of the lever until the engine pump operation cooling fan operation reduces the water temperature latches of the air shutdown reset lever. Engine water temperature does not drop. The reset the lever does not lock within 2 minutes. Shut the engine down. Proceed as to per item number 11. Note number 3. See figure 2 with the engine water temperature is maintained diverting the engine oil outlet water through the roof radiators. The water flow for the radiators controlled by the bypass valve of the floor with the bypass valve of the bolted to the inlet opening of the sump tank. As the water leaving the engine rises to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, bypass valve of the wheel club of the water car entering the tank with a diverted roof radiator of the water leaving the radiator at 165 degrees with the fan operates at low speed. When the water exceeds 176 degrees Fahrenheit, the fan operates at high speed. The water returns to the opposite end of the tank from which the bypass valve is located. Note number 4. Throttle transmission solenoids are fed with the battery positive with the traction relay with the number 1 and A and written regulator locker common negative solid solenoid feed number 1 and 2 engine to the route with the isolation switch figure 5 and figure 6 and 7 and figure 7. Respective locker isolation switch must be with the normal the tractive power with the wheel with the isolation switch for the D and drive with the traction solenoids only. It does not remove safety precaution for the protection of the engine's operated with the isolate. Circuit breaker with the protective with the positive with the negative feed with the engine solenoids 14 and 15 and figure 8 with the located with the switch panel with the must be on with the open must be on the on power operation. Circuit breaker protection positive feed with the transaction traction relay coil with the counter with the located with the switch panel with the item 6 figure 8 must be on relay operation plug switch with the controller 26 with figure 1 must be in with the in and air compressor control circuit breaker 13 with the figure 8 must be on the open the compressor current. Cooling fan motor with the control circuit with the breaker 16, 19, 23, and 27, 29 figure 7 with the air compressor for the motor circuit breaker with the item 12 with the figure 7 located within the B end of the regulator locker. Interconnection between the car engine wiring is accomplished with the 2 quick disconnects, 8 contact plug with the incapable assembly for the in, one from the engine and one from the transmission. These plugs must be in the normal operation for the controls. When the engine will not crank, check with the air shutdown with the valve the reset lever being pulled with the limited travel. Check with the battery switch must be enclosed with the item done 4, 24 figure 5 with the check of the starter cable to disconnect 11 the figure 4 with the must be in. B when engine will not crank will not fire, check with the fuel in the tank with the gauge 26 figure 5 with the check of the emergency fuel shut off valve with the reset lever with the item 35 with figure 5 at the fuel tank with the valve must be open. C when the engine is will fire stops when the reset lever is released. Engine shutdown with valve with the manually reset lever 3 the figure 4 with the must hold approximately 30 seconds to allow engine oil lubricating oil pressure rise to open and low engine oil pressure switch after the reset lever the release and prior to building an oil pressure for the low engine oil pressure switch will remain closed with the shutdown valve with the wheel club with the shutdown of the engine. A. Check the oil level. The oil level is above full may be indicated with the fuel dilution. Caution: fuel dilution is present with the fuel leak may be corrected with the crank case to drain and oil replaced. Do not attempt to run the engine with excessive oil dilution. Check for high engine water temperature for the engine panel telltale light with the will be lit with light high water temperature for the deck of the switch is set with a closed air shutdown with the water temperature for the exceed with 200 degrees Fahrenheit. If the temperature is above 200 degrees Fahrenheit and the cooling system is faulty and should be checked as valve with the check of the water level of the pre-cox on the end of the tanks. Check the fan circuit breaker with the motor 6 and motor 6 or 19 and figure 17 and controls 23 or 29 figure 7. Check the radiator cooling fan operation jump to number 5 and number 9 terminal with the fan control panel. The terminal block 4 with the number 2 engine 18, number 1, engine figure 7 over the B end with the regulator box with a short low-speed thermostat and fan should operate a low-speed jumper between 4 and number 9 terminals should operate with the fans as high speed with the fan operating with a jumper in place with the water temperature above the 200 air degrees Fahrenheit. Air shutdown reset with lever so maybe must be pulled and held to complete the negative circle. With this caution, if the engine water temperature is not lowered immediately after the fan starts to run shutdown engine, allow it to cool. If the engine with the water temperature lowered, protect the switch and restore with the open position application of the jumper to leave with the jumper tap with the procedure. Do not use the procedures during the freezing of the weather due to the possibility of freezing of the roof radiators. If the engine water temperature is not lowered, application for the jumper, subsequent operation of the shutdown engine with the proceed with the engine proceed with the item 10. Or Z item 11. If the transmission oil temperature is above 255 degrees, engine telltale light number 9, figure 4 will be lit with the temperature cutoff switch is provided with the engine control panel to protect with the transmission set with the oil temperature switch is set with the close without air shut valve. And shutdown valve, the shutdown of the engine with the oil temperature exceed the 255 degrees. If this occurs with the starting engine for the reset lever, that must be pulled with a hold approximately 1 minute to reduce the transmission oil temperature open with the protective switch. The procedure may be repeated, accomplishing oil cooling. 4. Protective switches are faulty. The items 1, 2, and 3 when they indicated oil water condition engine that are normally with the engine will stop. Still stop the reset lever the release and may be assumed that one of these switches is faulty falsely shutting down with the engine failure to direct the driver clutch governor. Disengage the clutch will stall the engine. Failure to overspeed the governor will close valve will cause low oil pressure shutdown. These conditions should be reported and switches checked at the end of the run. Proceed on number 1 engine item number C item number 11. When engines run, but the car will not move with the wheel of the throttle level. The number 1 position engine speed increase with the throttle is advanced. Handbrake may be applied with the track check for the end of the standing over the rails. Emergency application have been made with the car standing piling on the rails in front of the wheel. The move of the throttle. The 2, 3, and 4 positions ride out over the same with the check for the transmission controls cable. Cable 14, figure 4 with the plug must be in. Listen for the clutch engagement with one of the engine at a time. One of the axle gear units must be seized. Do not attempt to move the car if the gears are until they suspect faulty until the proper authority is obtained. If the engine speed does not increase with the throttle with advanced but remain in idle speed, check with both the isolation switches 5 of the figure 6 and 7 and figure 7 must be in the normal position. Check with the control circuit breaker 6 and the figure 8 with the switch locker must be on. Check with the master plug into item 26 of the figure 1 must be in. Check with the engine solenoid circuit breaker 14 and 15 and figure 8 with the must be on. Check with the train line supply circuit breaker 5 and the figure 8 must be on. 5F. Check for the engine control cable to item 10 with the figure 4 with the right of the engine control panel box must be in with the insufficient power with the throttle car. If the car does not have the proper acceleration when the throttle is advanced, it may indicate that only one engine in the proper panel in the car. Check the transmission oil level. Each of the power unit oil level is below the added level of the dipstick. Shutdown engine down. Proceed 1 over the engine item number 11. With the brake test for the individually check each of the power of the transmission with the clutch engagement. This can be accomplished with the isolation switch located with the lockers at the end of each of the car. Isolation engine closed with the control with the tab for the being made with the reverser position advanced throttle number 1 position of approximately 8 seconds with the light large will be felt with the car body indicating that the transmission clutch has been engaged for the engine furthest from the controller. Return the isolation with the normal with the engine closed with the controller. Note that the heavier the clutch engagement. And failure to either pull the failure to either power the unit with the engage of the clutch indicate faulty unit. Isolate engine. Proceed on 1 engine. See item number 11. Alright, F. Engine runs but stalls with the valve when the throttle is removed off the number 1 position call with the transmission going into direct drive with the isolating engine proceed with the 1 engine. G. When the reserve pressure does not build up or hold, the air compressor will not operate unless one of both the engines are running. Master plug and switch must be in. Check the air compressor control circuit breaker 13 figure 8 must be on. 2. Check the air compressor circuit breaker in figure 7. 3. Check the compressor governor. Remove the cover to observe the contact of the clove of the compressor governor is located with the switch panel. Lock on the check with the reverser. Current relay auxiliary contacts of the engine running item number 27, figure 6 and 32 of the figure 7. Contacts must be closed. Check with the air compressor motor of operation. Check with the relief of the air brake system will open angle. H. When the generator will not charge while engine running with the generator with the pilot light with the items 7 and 8 with figure 1 is not light with the indication for the generator not charging. Check with the lamp that is burned out with the observer with the pilot light opening up to the end of the car the same light with the both at the end of the car not lit. Shut down with the engine, remove the replace the field fuse until with a known good fuse. Restart with the engine, pilot lights fail to operate with the report the failure to maintenance force. Item number 7. Item number 11. Operating car with 1 engine should open on the road of the troubleshooting fail to restore the engine normal service possible safely operate with the car with the engine provided with the grades with the not excessive. However, the acceleration, cruising, and the speed should be reduced. The car heating is required with the possible idle troubleshooting engine with advisable to the isolation switch must be with the isolate under these conditions. The outside temperature for the above freezing with is not with the necessary for the drain with the shutdown with the troubleshooting with the engine power prohibition the operation. There is the danger with the freezing. Refer to the draining instruction. Proceed on the remaining engine. To prevent necessary draining of the cooling system of the table to give it the outside temperature of the approximate time of the required with the lower temperature cooling water with the pump shut down with no for normal freezing valve. 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 degrees 7 hours, 15 degrees Fahrenheit 5 hours, 0 degrees 3 hours, negative 15 degrees 1 hour. Item number 12, multiple cooperation. Each of the cars equipped with the receptacles, one each of the car of the corner of the car, the jumper cable equipped with the plug, each of the provided with the cable, the train line circuit from car to car, the destination to have one of the jumper between each of the two cars, train jumper to stored with the utility locker of each car with the cars separated with the jumper with the should be returned with the locker with the car, which if the remove with the jumper cable that may result with the serve of the year damage for the equipment. An occasional check of the condition of the receptacles is recommended, and any collection with the dirt shall be blown out when the cars are coupled together with the controls obtained with the lead of the car. The car is following with a check of the condition of the plug and receptacles, clean units of the necessary check that the plug is completely entered into the receptacle with the cover latch engine gauges plug on the plug. Item number 13, a redraining instruction engine cooling water. The drain system remove the drain plug located with the engine cooling water tank with the bottom of the fitting of the strike with the crossbar with the plug is sharply with a hammer to rotate with the clockwise direction, locking down on the plug. Removal of the plug will drain all the water of the system except for the oil with the coolers, engine water pump with the feed line with the car heat. Caution, when the drain is unplugged, is removed. Do not leave for the gasket with the drain plug. With the gasket should be wired to the engine control panel. Figure 4 with the panel tag cooling system drain and do not crank engine. To drain the engine water pump with the pump, open the petcock located at the bottom of the pump. Drain the engine with the transmission oil lever, oil coolers. Open the oil drain cooler drain valve. Drain valve extension rod handle is located at the right end of the water pump, and then turn the handle counterclockwise to the drain. To drain with the heat in the pump with the feed with the radiators, open the petcock and then your car heater radiator feed line. At the pump outlet, check valve that open the petcock and the car heating pump housing. Note number 1, when engine is drained, move the blower switch on the air conditioner panel. And item number 9, figure 8, and the switch with the locker off positions to prevent the cold air into the car. Move the overhead heat with the pump fuse over the air conditioner panel, preventing overpumping when dry. When number 2, engine is drained, remove the floor heat pump fuse to prevent operation when dry. Item number 14, truck braking equipment. The car is equipped with the blood disc, brake model CF, with the conjunction with the blood Rollicron anti-wheel slide equipment. The combination 4 with the tape, the positive, the brake action without damaging wheel, with the non-opening axle, with the 2 discs securely attached with one each for the O, with the wheel, with the brake consisting of the C-frame with the support, with the shoe, with the brake head, with the tongue, with the cylinders, mounted with the proper relation with the brake disc, with the under pressure for the admitted, with the brake cylinder, with the enforcer, with the position out, with the turn actuates, linking squeezing, with the composition line shoe, with against, with the both sides of the disc, with the friction developed between the shoe line, with the disc stop, with the remove of the disc, and turn while the wheel is until the disc is attached. In this manner, all heat generated with the brake application is fine with the disc. This is designed with the cooling of the fins and opening with the rapidly dissipate with the heat into the surrounding air, the saving the wheel from the wear of the and heat. A Bud Belcron device is mounted with a journal box, 1 per axle to prevent wheel slide. By 1, detecting instant excessive wheel deceleration, which occurred with the beginning of the wheel slip. 2, the following detection immediately with a reduce of the brake cylinder pressure before the wheel has become locked, thereby allowing the wheel to resume normal rotation. At the same time, it initiates rail standing to restore normal adhesion. 4, it immediately restores brake cylinder pressure for the wheel resumes normal rotation. Note, in the event of the repeated Rollicron action during the service stops, check with the end stand delivery. Figure 6 shows the regulators look at locker A. 1, push button stop engines, all cars. 2, push button start engine number 1. 3, push button stop engine number 1. 4, throttle 1 relay. 5, number 1 engine stop isolation switch. 6, reverser relay. 7, fuse cab heater left side, fuse cab heater 8, right side. 9, fuse heater blower left hand side cab. 10, fuse heater blower right side cab. 11, Rollicron sand relay. 12, plug switch relay. 13, reset sand direction relay. 14, electro-pneumatic sanding valve. 15, push button start engine number 2. 16, push button stop engine number 2. 17, lamp regulators. 18, throttle relay number 2 relay, forward relay. Number 19, 20, manual sand relay. 21, generator regulator. 22, main fuse generator. 23, field fuse operator. 24, sand timer relay. 25, high rate sand relay. 26, sanding direction relay. 27, auxiliary contacts reverser current relay. 28, battery contacts reverse current relay. 29, air conditioner control panel. 30, exciting switch. Figure 7, your regulator locker BN, push button stop switch, all engine, all car with the push button, start, stop, engine number 1, 3, push button stop, engine number 2, 1, 4, test terminal block, cooling fan number 2, engine 5, time delay number 2, engine cooling fan, motor number 6, circuit breaker number 2, engine cooling fan, motor 7, number 2, engine stop, isolation switch, 8, fuse cap heater left and right side, and 10 and 11, left and right side heater blower fuse, 12, main circuit breaker, air compressor, 20, 13, train line stop relays, 14, pop the terminal block, 15, plug switch relay, 16, push button start and engine number 2, 17, push button stop engine number 2, 18, test terminal block cooling fan number 1 engine, 19, circuit breaker number 1 engine cooling fan motor, 20, time delay relay number 1 engine cooling fan motor, 21, low speed number 1 engine cooling fan motor, 22, high speed contactor number 1 engine cooler fan motor, 23, control circuit breaker the number 1 fan the thermostat and the contactor coils, 24, high speed contactor number 2 engine cooling fan motor, item number 25, low speed contactor number 2 engine cooling fan motor, 26, generator regulator, 27, the main fuse generator, 28, field fuse generator, 29, control circuit breaker with the number 2 fan thermostat with the control contactor coils, 30, line contactor air compressor, 31, time delay relay air compressor, 32, auxiliary contact reverse current relay, 33, battery contacts reverse current relay, 24, 34, circuit breaker cab signals. Alright, figure 8, switch panel. Circuit breaker, headlights, cab lights. 2, circuit breaker with a coach ceiling and cove lights. Circuit breaker 3, coach ceiling and lights. Circuit breaker 4, signal and sanding. Circuit breaker 5, train line supply. Item number 6, circuit breaker controlling cab number 1 and 2. 7, spare fuse panels. 8, fuse feed and tester. 9, air conditioner control panel. 10, circuit breaker main lighting. 11, the circuit breaker planium lights and defroster. 12, the circuit breaker car sanding. 13, circuit breaker air compressor. 14, circuit breaker number 1 engine solenoid. 15, circuit breaker number 2 engine solenoid. Fuse trons, overhead floor heat pumps. Number 16. And that was your Rail Diesel Car Operator's Manual from the Reading Manual Bud Company. Testing.